With the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 being the latest and greatest on the market, the question everybody has in their mind, is it worth it? And we're about to find out. The link for this video will be in the description. Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 versus 845. Is it worth the upgrade? So let's talk about it. The Snapdragon 855, which was unveiled last year, Qualcomm's high-end mobile platform, boasts another generational leap in performance as well as some notable firsts for the mobile industry. Today, we're going to pit the two versus each other, the 855 versus the 845. Now, the spec showdown. One of the most obvious starting points to compare the 855 versus the Snapdragon 845 is the manufacturing process. The Snapdragon 855 is Qualcomm's first 7nm FinFET chip compared to 10nm FinFET for the Snapdragon 845. This smaller process means smaller chips and greater energy efficiency, which can be put towards additional performance if desired. The Snapdragon 855 also marks Qualcomm's first tri-cluster CPU design. Rather than a traditional 4 big and 4 little core design, the Snapdragon 855 moves to one huge 3 big and 4 small design. The huge core is a highly clocked ARM Cortex-A76 based CPU design with a few Qualcomm tweaks. This core offers a higher peak clock speed and more cache memory than the other big cores, providing a major boost to performance over the Snapdragon 845's Cortex-A75 base cores. The GPU update is a little more traditional, bumping up from Adreno 630 to an Adreno 640. Qualcomm estimates a 20% performance boost between generations, but doesn't give anything else away about any other improvements made in the graphics department. So right here, what we're doing, we're going to do a little bit of comparison. Now, to your far left, you have the Snapdragon 855. In the middle is the 845, and on your far right is the Snapdragon 835. Now, the 835 was used most notably on the Galaxy Note 8. The Snapdragon 845 was used on the Galaxy 9 and the Note 9. Now, the 855 will be used on the 10 and the Note 10, to be exact. So let's start out with the CPU, the core. As you can see, the 855 has a semi-custom ARM Cortex that's 485 a Cairo. The Snapdragon 445 is 385, and the 835 Snapdragon is 280. So you got a big difference in those three. The CPU configuration, as you can see those numbers, there is a lot of difference with the configurations with the 855. The GPU, the 640 Adreno is being ran by the 855, while the 845 is ran by 630, and the 845 is ran by 540. There is a notable difference in that. The DSP, the 855 is ran off of the Hexagon 690. The 845 is ran off of the 685, and 682 is ran off of the 845, which is not a big difference. Process wise, 7, 10, and 10. Not a big difference in there. In the camera department, you see 48 megapixel single camera to the 24 megapixel, and then you have the 32 megapixel and the 16 megapixel dual. And basically, in the camera department, the 845 and the 855 both have the pretty much the same cameras, okay? But there's a big difference when it comes to the 855 cameras. And you'll see when it comes to video capture. Right here, this is the 855 has 4K UHD video capture, HDR, and it moves at 60 frames per second. While you have the 855 is 4K UHD 60 frames per second, and of course the 845 is 4K as well UHD, but moves at 30 frames per second. Now the playback, this is where it really shows where the money goes to, because the 855 has 8K, yes, 360 degree, 4K up to 120 frames per second, 10-bit 265 and VP9 video decoder. While you look at the 845 and the 835, it's 4K UHD 60 frames per second and 10-bit, but neither one of these have that 8K or 360 or moves at 120 frames per second. Big difference. Charging, they both have the quick charge 4+, besides the 835, which has the 4.0. It's still quick charge, just not as fast as the 45 and the 55. Look at the modems. There is not a big difference. The only big difference is between the 35 and the 55. But most notable improvements to the 855 include the introduction of 8K, like I just said, and the 360 degree video recording capabilities, along with the hardware H.265 and VP9 video decoder. This change lowers power consumption while playing back high quality videos. This will be great. And this is one of the biggest things. The 5G support is a bit more complicated. The first 5G smartphones utilize the Snapdragon 855, but there's no 5G modem included in the die. 5G phones have to make use of an additional external Snapdragon. And people, this is only a way to get our money. They want us to upgrade the 5G just to get our money. Okay, now here's some benchmarks that was taken. As you can see right here, the Snapdragon 855 compared to a lot of other well, the Snapdragon 855 on Geekbench, multi-core, single core, 3D, and taking an average for each chip, single core CPU capabilities make the biggest leap out of all these tests. But the 855 is truly powerful, and with that 8K, I'm impressed by that. But overall, I would say that it's an improvement, but it's not like a complete overhaul compared to the 35. So if you're pushing 835, you're good. You're good. I'm gonna be honest with you. But if you want to move on up, and if you can afford that type of speed, that type of power, 5G, jump right aboard. Like this video, leave your comments, share it on social media, and subscribe later.